I'm hearing a lot of people talk about recently the whole comparative suffering thing, so I wanted to just talk about it really quick. So, the reason why I'm so passionate about comparative suffering, and by that I mean the other term I use for it is Pain Olympics, where we get this thing where we think because I don't have it as bad as them. Oh, they have 4 kids. I only have 2 kids. They have a kid with special needs. I don't. Oh, their partner lost his job. Mine didn't. What do I have to complain about? When we get into that whole way of thinking and that whipping ourselves, that I'm pathetic and I don't have it that bad and I don't have anything to complain about. One, where we learn that most of us comes from childhood and the way that our parents spoke to us in that invalidating, dismissive, oh, don't be silly, just get on with it, jump up, what are you complaining about? Complaining about it is not going to do anything. Don't cry over spilled milk, all those kinds of things. When you have experienced that all through childhood of being invalidated in how you feel, dismissed, the template is sort of already laid out there. So that's where it comes from, right? A lot of us, the way that we speak to ourselves, or the reason why we speak to ourselves like that, is because that's what was modeled for us. That's what was trained into our brain. That's how we were taught. When we then do that to ourselves, the problem is those feelings then linger for even longer if you speak to yourself like that. However, if you speak to yourself in a compassionate, empathetic, validating way, and you don't dismiss how you feel, and you acknowledge, yeah, you have 2 kids and this is hard. And yeah, she has 4 and you only have 2, and your husband didn't lose his job. It's just as hard, isn't it? When you do that by acknowledging, validating, and saying, I see you, I hear you, yeah, this is hard. Yeah, it passes, it goes away. All of those feelings that come up of inadequacy or why am I finding this so hard or whatever, all of that stuff kind of mellows out and quiets and softens when you address it, when you meet it, when you see it, when you hear it. When you continue to dismiss it, it will continue to talk at you until you acknowledge it. That's why you feel frustrated or irritable or resentful all day long, where you could just squish it down and only feel that way for a small amount of time if you just sit with yourself in those feelings and if you just acknowledge, this is how I'm feeling. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay that I'm having a hard time, because when you focus on how hard they have it and how easy I have it and how pathetic I am, you are draining yourself of your most valuable asset, which is your time and your energy. You are then devoting and spending and giving away your precious resource of time and energy towards them, and thinking about how ridiculous I am and how hard it must be for them and how silly this all is that I'm feeling this way. That's your most precious resource. That's your most precious asset that you are giving away and wasting. So if you can stop focusing on how bad they have it and how easy I have it and how pathetic I'm being, and instead sit with those feelings, see them, acknowledge them, hear them, validate them, you will notice that they will dissipate. And the other thing that you can do, or the other part of this, is to recognize what is actually going on here, what you're actually doing. And what you're doing in this process is actually called reparenting. You are reparenting yourself. Because those moments when that little voice comes up inside of you and says, this is so hard, I'm finding this so challenging, that whole way of thinking, that's that little person inside of you who went to your parents or caregivers and said, I'm finding this so hard. And the ideal response that they would have had in that moment would have been to attune to you and validate you and say, I see you, I hear you. Yes, sweetheart, this is hard. This is hard. You're doing such a great job. I know it's hard, but I'm with you and we'll get through this. We can do hard things. That's what we would have liked to have had, right? But most of us didn't have that because we parent how we were parented, and our parents are doing their best and they were parenting us the same way that they were parented. And so we can't hate on them. They were doing their best. But in this moment, when you have that come up, that is what the opportunity is for you, to reparent yourself, to see her or him or them, to acknowledge, this is hard for you. Yeah, I see you. I hear you. This is hard. Yeah, I'm with you. So when those moments come up, you have the choice to be the ideal parent and to meet yourself as the parent that you maybe wish that you had had when you were little. And that's who you get to be for yourself today. Because they're not coming. That fantasy parent that you wish you had, the way that they responded, that you wish they had responded, or the things that they had said or done, they're not coming. Sorry. That's hard. I know. Let's grieve that. That's hard. They're not coming. That's something you do for yourself. And that's scary in one way, but that's also liberating in another. You get to reparent yourself in the ways that you needed as a child. You can do that now. And that's what's stirring a lot of stuff up for a lot of us right now. Getting stirred up in a lot of us is this feeling of I'm feeling inadequate. I'm feeling less than. They're doing it better. What do I have to complain? All this comparative suffering crap that we're doing. And then it depletes us. And then we have no empathy to give to others because we're not filling our cup with empathy. It's like the empathy tap. You got to turn on the tap, fill your own cup, fill empathy within to yourself, and then the overflow goes into other people. But if you turn the tap off for yourself, eventually it's going to dry up and it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to extend empathy to other people, which is why it's so dangerous and why we have to pour empathy and turn the tap on for ourselves first. But going back to the reparenting thing, if you then acknowledge when those feelings come up of I feel less than, I feel not okay, I feel unsafe, I feel worried about all of this situation or whatever, I'm beating myself up. If you go, stop. I'm going to see that little voice, is that little person within me who didn't get validated or heard or seen as a child. And then me as adult, present day me, is going to meet those child's needs. And I'm going to say what she needed to hear that she didn't get to hear when she was 5 or 10 or whatever. And I will say to her, yeah, this is hard. I see you. Homeschooling is hard. Working from home is hard. Not seeing your friends is hard. I know. It's hard. I'm with you. Because then what happens? The need is met. She's soothed. She's seen. She's heard. She can move forward. But when you sit and berate and whip yourself and whip yourself and whip yourself, the need is not met. And so it will continue in the thoughts and the feelings over and over and over. I hope that's helpful.